Mic. Camera. Action.
Oh, man. If I start to die again, forget the hospital. I want to croak here.
Walter.
Mr. Novian is an author. My associate,
John Anthony.
John Anthony.
Oh, hi.
Nice to meet you.
These sports services are yours. Complete fucking scam, huh? I hear your boy is having quite a season, huh? What's your system, Walter?
System?
Let's start with how much you bet.
$1 million a game, across the board.
Okay, is that our ceiling here? Is that the most we're working with?
Oh, it depends. I mean, shit, Benny, check your wallet. See if you got any cash hanging around. Maybe you'll tell us about the weekend. Yeah, how do you feel about this weekend?
Do you rent that yacht?
No, I own it.
That's how I feel about this weekend. And I'm not being cocky. I'm talking straight commerce with you, Mr. Novia. I didn't come down here to bullshit you.
Wow, you got steam, huh? Or maybe a little inside information, maybe?
I know these teams better than they know themselves. I'm going 12 for 12 this weekend, and that includes the Monday night parlay.
Wow. Should we believe him? What do you think, Walter?
I don't believe him.
You cannot afford not to.
No, I can afford it.
Can you? Honest question, Mr. Novian. Can you? Hell, can anyone for that matter? Afford to lose as much as a man like you needs to bet to actually feel a win. Winning's a funny thing. It's one of those rare commodities on earth that money cannot buy. Until you called me.
I didn't call you. I called your boss.
And he called me. And the price is $250,000 up front plus 10% of every game you win.
Well, that's wild. I never paid up front before, did I?
We've never charged it before. But considering whose picks you're getting and the amount of money that you're betting, Mr. Novian, $250's a bargain. You know it, and I know it. If you want this weekend's winners, that's my offer.
All right. Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the faker's filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. Today's guest is man of measure Maff. Today's film is DJ Caruso's 2 for the Money from 2005. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. Maff, thank you for joining me for your second appearance this season, your second McConaughey show. And we're keeping the sports theme going. Baseball was film number 1, and now we've moved to American football for film number 2.
All right. I don't think it's like all right, to be fair, but yeah, it's weird because when we did the baseball and then I said, "Oh, is there another sports one?" And he said, "Yeah, there's 2 for the money." Right, put me down for that. I thought, does he do any more? Because he's got the body, he's got the physique for this, and he doesn't really.
No, and obviously
even the only 2.
Yeah, I mean, even this one, obviously, we get to see plenty of his body, which I'm sure we'll talk about at various points ourselves throughout this podcast. But he's not really a player in this, is he? It's all about kind of that post-playing career. So it's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of it. You're right. He hasn't really kind of capitalised on that sporting physique that he has.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one where I think you get to see his body in quite a lot of the stuff. But, I mean, I suppose Magic Mike, which you will get to do later on.
Yeah.
You do get to see a bit more of him there, but I wonder if it's a missed opportunity that he could have really fitted into them roles. You know, as I say, he's got the physique to be able to do, to play football or American football.
Yeah.
And that, not soccer, or baseball or something like that. I think he could have really, really done, but I don't know. I would have loved to have seen him actually probably star in like an American football type film.
Yeah.
And that, which I thought this is how this is going to start with. But going into this, I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And reading the synopsis on the back of the box from CEX, it's like, oh, is this going to be like a Moneyball, Jeremy White kind of thing? Even at one point, kind of reading through it, it could have been like Devil's Advocate and that.
Yeah.
Al Pacino. But maybe it's not quite that.
No, but they're fair reference points. They're ones I thought of. I thought of Moneyball. Yeah, certainly Devil's Advocate. Like, Pacino seems to be kind of into this kind of mentor-mentee role at this point in his career. He's got quite a few around here because you've got like The Recruit with Colin Farrell, The Insider with Russell Crowe. He's got quite a few of these kind of movies around this time, hasn't it, where he's kind of the wise sage, and he's got, the young buck that he's that kind of mentor protege pairing.
I mean, he oozes charisma. It absolutely, I mean, to be fair, there's not many films that you watch him in that he's not good in it. At some point, I mean, I don't think this is his best film at all. And I think there's parts where he's phoning it in a little bit, but it's still, when he's on screen, there is a presence there. And, I don't know how it came about, but Matthew McConaughey, I'm sure, when they kind of went to him and said, "Oh, do you fancy starring in a film with Al Pacino?" Yeah. Too right. And that, so, and that, whether he'd read the script or not, I think he'd be signing up going, "Yeah, that's fine. What? I'm playing a chicken. I'll do it. That's fine." Chance to get to star with, such a massive actor like that, you'd be kind of doing whatever you can to get in there.
And it's sort of pre-Pacino decline as well, isn't it? Him and De Niro had this really interesting, like, kind of late 2000s, I suppose, for the next 10, 15, perhaps even now, 20 years, who knows? Whether they haven't really ever truly regained their status, have they? But they both had a kind of period where they were making movies that you wouldn't have thought that perhaps, 5-10 years before they would have even considered doing.
No, but I think it was a case of, could they recapture that thing? I mean, the performances are fine. I think maybe it was just the choice of script, and maybe people were thinking, "Oh yeah, you were good in Scarface, and go back to Godfather and things like that." But we've moved on from there, and that character that you played back there was just fantastic. Doesn't fit into 2000s. You don't have a gangster like that. Like, we do get The Sopranos, so I know that's a big thing, but still, I think the movies have kind of been and gone.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, so they have to find what roles are gonna be suitable for them, or then maybe they want to try doing different things, or they still have some pretty decent movies in their CV from past this point, to be fair. But you're right, they never regain their kind of. Or when you think of, when we reflect on their careers, when inevitably they go, it will be the stuff sort of pre this era probably that we focus on.
Yeah,
and then they kept working.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some actors do, and they'll just take the bit. I mean, it's like Bruce Willis. We didn't know, but he was taking so many roles, and you're thinking, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then it comes out the reason why he's doing it, and it's like, fair play to you. I kind of respect you more for it, to be fair. The fact that, I'll take these shit roles because it means that my family's don't, and my family's family don't have to worry about things. I'm not sure that's the case with Pacino. Maybe again, he could see Matthew McConaughey were coming up and thought, yeah, it could be a new up-and-coming actor. Renée Russo, she's a big name as well. So Probably as well, it's not like he had to do an awful lot. He just had to kind of. I do feel that in the film he's a bit miscasted. I think, without being rude, I think he's too old for the part he's playing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's because of the family dynamic that's there. Maybe that's wrong. I know that parents can be older now having kids and that, but it kind of felt as if really he should have been the granddad as opposed to being a dad.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it is a bit odd at those points when he's talking about his young child, isn't it? But
yeah, it's like there's a bit where he's kind of giving a pony ride. Now, if you'd been granddad doing that, and it's like, okay, I can see that, whereas I don't know, they're just. I've got a 6-year-old. I'm 46. I know that. The point when my 6-year-old's going to be kind of going out nightclubs and stuff like that, I'll be looking towards getting a pension.
Yeah.
And
but speaking of these kind of De Niro, didn't he have a child only a couple of years ago with his latest partner?
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying. I completely agree. I guess they kind of write their way around it by giving him this kind of like heart condition, don't they? And I think this idea that he's been a workaholic and a gambling addict for a long time, I think kind of makes sense that perhaps it wasn't until he met Rene Russo's Tony and she kind of got him on she's got her own like history of addiction.
Yeah.
But until she got herself straight, and then she's obviously kept him straight for the majority of the time. I think I agree with you. I think he's right for the role in terms of what he brings to it. He brings that hoo-ha of Pacino that he needs at a couple of scenes. But he does feel a little bit past his prime, I suppose. But again, I think they could have lent into that. Like if they'd made this more... There's so many ways I think this film could have been better. I think if he'd almost been like a TV evangelist style character, like truly larger than life, then I think it would have worked better. Or... I don't know. Like I think you're right in terms of who he is and who they wanted him to play. Somebody he's just a little bit aged out, like him from 10 years. Probably somebody 10 years earlier. 10 years earlier in his career, somebody 10 years younger would have been perfect. Or they had to reshape the character slightly.
It feels like I'm not sure who wrote the script actually, but they had elements kind of put down and thought, right, this will work, and but then they just kind of mashed it together, and it feels like there's several storylines going along in the background that kind of raise their heads at times, but don't really ever get kind of. One of them does get a bit of a payout at the end, but it just feels like there was a few ideas and they kind of set them off and never really kind of followed it through.
No, that's definitely true. There's several subplots that just seem to either fizzle out or just disappear from, Jamie King's character that he meets near the start of the movie, that McConaughey's Branda meets near the start of the movie. That feels like that's going to go somewhere. And then she comes back for one scene later. I found that all very confusing. The Jeremy Piven kind of rival just pops up here and there, but doesn't really go.
Awesome.
I know there's like a payoff that he gets fired, but it doesn't really ever. There's not really ever any sparks between them. There's no any real conflicts.
You see, that's the problem. Piven was kind of his previous. That we've not even discussed what that's your film's about here, but Piven's kind of his nemesis. To be fair, that's the guy he's fighting against, and it feels like it didn't matter what he did, and that Matthew McConaughey's character could do whatever he wanted to do, and it were fine. And Piven was now kind of that old pushed aside thing, and even if he'd have been, we're knocking things out of the park afterwards, and it's like, but you shit. I've got bored of you. It's a bit like Walter, which is Al Pacino's character. They just play things for him.
100%.
He's got bored, so he's moved on to the next toy.
Yeah,
and the old toy kind of pops up now and again, but it's like I don't really care.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the issue with the film is, and I think it feels like we're on the same page here roughly, but you're right, we'll get into the weeds a bit in a minute. It's all just a bit flat. It's all a bit one note. It follows like this mentor protege trope. It follows the sports movie trope of like the nobody and the rise and the fall and where will they end up by the end of the movie. So it's playing on all these arenas, but it never does anything interesting or different with any of it, I think. And that means it just, all the way through, I just didn't really engage with this movie in any kind of particular way. I don't know about you.
Well, we were just saying about Letterboxd earlier, and I'm going to hold off posting my review, but I will say in my review I've put it's boring.
Yeah.
It's not a waste of time as such. The film's fine, but it just feels like it doesn't do anything. It feels like it kind of sets a certain thing up, and it's like, oh, this could be interesting, and then it's like, yeah, I've got. It's like a film with ADHD. It starts doing one thing and moves on to something else and moves on to it, and it's like, just follow a path, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a massive cast as it is anyway,
No.
but even so, just shrink it down a little bit more. You know, we get characters added in there. There's is it Ahmed?
Armand Assance,
Yeah, he's in it, and they do kind of play with that a little bit, but again, that fizzles into nothing.
Yeah, I agree. He's just acting as Armand Assance. He's the same in everything, that guy. Which, you know, you either like him or loathe him. I don't know. But, yeah, he's like...
He's got a good look to him of the character.
A good look and a good voice. Yeah, he's baddie Stallone, basically, isn't he?
Pretty much.
Which he literally is in Red, obviously. Yeah, but, I mean, he sort of looks a bit like Stallone. He sounds a bit like a baddie version of Stallone. No, I agree. It is a bit boring. And I think by the end, actually, I'd sort of tuned out. I was still watching, obviously, because I have to, because we're discussing it, and you need to have been watching all the way through. But I was ready for it to finish so I could start doing my trivia dive, so I could start seeing if there's any good behind the scenes stuff. As we've been discussing before I watched the movie, there's not a lot out there, really.
No.
And I think that's probably because most people feel the same. This exists and it's fine, but that's it. So why would I bother wasting my time wanting to delve into it anymore?
Yeah, that's the problem. As I say, there are so many other clones of this, or this is a clone of them, which do it really well, and this just seems to miss the mark. Yeah, and it just feels like it had the idea, it had the actors, it just couldn't execute it.
Yeah, well, I think what it doesn't have is A, the story, and we'll talk about the writer and how the film came about in a sec, I think, and B, it doesn't have the director either. I don't think either of them, at this point in their career, to me, had the presence to make this into a compelling movie. Because you're right, the things we've already referenced, Moneyball, amazing movie, really should be the most boring thing you could watch, but is fascinating and interesting. Wolf of Wall Street, you've mentioned already, you know, Scorsese, that guy knows what he's doing. But, you know, Wall Street is the obvious comparison, to the point that they've got the bloody cheek. I don't know about on your DVD copy, but on mine, they've got greed is good as the bloody tagline.
Yeah,
I mean, the cheek of it. The Firm with Tom Cruise in the 80s was in my mind as well, watching this. And again, a much better movie. So, yeah, I think the issue is...
I feel really bad now.
They thought this was going to be... I think they thought this was going to capture kind of the zeitgeist and the essence of this kind of world, and perhaps they didn't quite know how to bring that out.
Yeah, I've just looked at his writing credits.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing, Dan Gilroy. Yeah, he's a very talented guy.
Yeah. I mean, Andor. Need to say more.
Not just that, but the best episodes of Andor. So Tony Gilroy is obviously his brother.
Yeah.
So this is Dan Gilroy. But
he was looking over Tony's shoulder.
But he wrote the Aldani. Yeah, Nightcrawler is an amazing movie. And he was responsible for the Aldani arc in season 1.
Right, yes.
And the, I forget the name of the planet, but the planet where the big riot happened and where they had to, and then in the third episode they had to rescue Mon from Coruscant.
Yeah, oh God.
But those ones, so basically yeah, I know. The two best arcs from the two, you know, arguably, I guess a lot of people prefer the Narkina 5, but, you know, two excellent arcs from two excellent seasons of Andor, he was responsible for. So this guy does know what he's doing, but I wonder if maybe it's just too early in his career where he didn't quite have the nous, didn't quite have the pull maybe on the set. Maybe he's written this script and then it's handed off and it wasn't quite shaped right. I don't know.
There's nearly 10 years between Two for the Money and Nightcrawler.
Yeah. And he does like the Bourne Legacy in that time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
which again is a lesser born, but is fine. It still was fun, yeah. So I think perhaps he was coming into who he was as a writer.
Yeah, maybe so. If you listen, I do apologise. You've obviously learned. It just feels like it's a lot of missed opportunities.
No, I agree.
And like I said, the performance. I mean, I think Matthew McConaughey is brilliant in it. I do. I mean, I think he's still kind of early stages. I know he's done a bit of rom-com stuff now, hasn't he? But it's still early in his kind of career. And considering he's got Al Pacino is against, I feel that it's Matthew McConaughey's movie. He's the drive behind it all. His presence on screen when he's on there is good. Whether it's the dialogue, delivering the dialogue that he does have, or even just seeing him working out. I mean, pulling curls that I can't do that. But he's got a presence there, so you can understand why he's being picked. Yeah, and I say against Al Pacino that they kind of work off each other really well.
And he's got really good chemistry with Rene Russo, I think, as well. Yeah. When they're on screen together. So, I agree. I think he's the right guy for the role. He's really good. Pacino's good. Russo's good. Piven's good in what he does. I think. I think everybody who's got a role in it is good. It's just, as we said, and we might end up repeating ourselves a little bit, but that's okay, because I think by nature of this movie not doing enough, we have to keep coming back to that idea that it's not quite doing enough with these good performances, with these good actors.
I think I've been very unlucky lately because there's a few films I've watched. I did All-Star Superman, which I don't know if Scott's released that or not yet, but that'll have been released definitely by the time this comes out anyway. But that's one of them where it's like, good idea, just failed to execute it, and that it's a shame because, as I say, sitting down and watching it and knowing them other films that I kind of thought it could be like, I thought I could really be in for a treat for this. And as I say, there's just something that just doesn't work.
No, and I think, for me personally, I think it's from the idea up. I think that's the problem. So perhaps this is a good point to talk about it, right? So McConaughey plays a guy called Brandon Lang, who is a college, high school football star who gets injured in a game and then can't pick up he gets a bad knee injury and he can't pick up a contract. Spends the next few years trying to do that until he ends up doing this weird 900 number job, which I couldn't really work out, but he's sort of leaving. He records phone messages that people can call in and listen to, and it gives them advice on games and betting and all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly, from out of nowhere, he gets handpicked by Al Pacino to go and be this handicapper, which I don't even really understand that either. So I think another part of the problem with this is that, and we discussed this before,
I think you missed that recording.
So much of this isn't very well explained. Whereas in Moneyball, this is really technical, but it is really well explained, so I can follow it.
Yeah. When he's doing them chat lines, where they're recording so that they get paid so much for each recording. There's a guy who's sick who normally does the...
that's fine, But I don't understand how Walter would pick him out of all the people that are doing this job. I don't understand what he has done
because he's just
in this
kind
role.
Of churning out the one after another of hits.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that this $1 million guy would have heard these phone lines. I don't find that part of this movie believable in any way.
Again, the problem is because we're not in America kind of seeing what the sports book. I know sports books are quite a massive thing over there, and I think it's one of those things where if there's one person who's kind of giving out really good tips, then it's going to feed down the line. So maybe there's someone who works in Walter's office that mentions, there's a guy here who's knocking it out. And Walter wants people to do good picks because that's where they make the money from. It's not a case of bet on us and we'll take him, like going into the bookies, you put a bet down, if you lose, they do well out of it. They've got to have people to win to get their money, to get their cut. So and as I say, I'm assuming it's a case of people just talking. His name's just been mentioned enough times. It does. I do agree. It does feel like all of a sudden out of the blue, like it's money. There's a ticket in your
Yeah, a ticket in your drawer. Here's an apartment. It feels a little bit, and I get it. It's meant to be that kind of 80s cliche of like, sudden success, and then what are you going to do with that? And it's playing with that idea. It just felt, I think, having been able to watch a couple of behind the scenes stuff, I don't know if you watched the ones on the DVD, and reading about the guy that it's based on, whose name is Brandon Link, and they changed it to Brandon Lang for the movie, and then now he goes by Brandon Lang. Essentially, from what I can get, and maybe I'm being a bit unfair, but this guy is the biggest bullshitter I've ever heard talking in my life. On the DVD, there's a discussion with him and Dan Gilroy about his life and how this came about and who he is and all his success. And then when you start delving into it, you're like, well, that's not true. And that's not true. And you're definitely making that up. And you're recontextualizing this so it suits your story. And I know we all kind of do that, but I just think this guy is a real big Billy bullshitter. And what Dan Gilroy's done is kind of gone either, oh, yeah, that's amazing, I believe you, and let's make a movie out of it. Or he's gone, okay, this is bullshit, but we'll make a good movie. I'm not sure where I land on that. But neither one of them really are necessarily right for making a good movie.
It's a bit like Jean-Claude Van Damme's character in Bloodsport. The actual
right, yeah, you're right, Frank Dukes, yeah, 100%. You're right.
I can do all these things. It's like, no,
great comparison. It is 100% that, yeah. But that's a better movie.
That's what, Could we have done that one? Could he have done Jean-Claude Van Damme? I think it's that thing though. He's got the charisma to pull this off. So
is this McConaughey or Brandon?
Well, it depends how. The thing is, you do get people out there who are so good at bullshitting.
Of course, yeah.
I mean,
this guy is one of them. To be fair,
yeah, sales guys. When you walk on a car lot, that's what they're there to do, and they will sell. I mean, my dad used to do it, and that we used to say that he could sell ice to Eskimos. You just have that rapport with the other people, know how to kind of push their buttons, and this guy had it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, even to how the script got made. I mean, he goes on to this. He tells this story about how, like, he basically kind of the arc of the movie, I suppose, is kind of his story, except for the getting 12 for 12 is obviously absolute bullshit. But like, kind of the 2 year, I think he says it's like a 2 year dip afterwards where things went really badly. So he left the industry. And then he thought, oh, well, my story's so great, I'll be able to sell this as a movie pitch. So he moved to LA, and then he met Dan Gilroy on a golf course, but he was a caddy.
Right.
And then what he's done is he's spun this story and made loads of stuff up and embellished details and convinced Dan Gilroy whilst caddying for him or somebody he's playing with. And he's basically optioned it from there. So when I'm saying he's a Billy bullshitter, he is. But you're absolutely right. And what you're saying as well is that he's a great salesman because he's sold Dan Gilroy on picking up this option. And this movie, I think they said 7 years later, was made and is out in the world starring Matt McConaughey and Al Pacino. So fair play to you, mate. Which
makes sense because think how Matthew McConaughey kind of got into the industry. He went there. He kind of did a bit of Billy bullshit.
Yeah.
And so I suppose he's perfect for the... I mean, again, he's really good in the role. It's just... There's just something that's missing from it. And maybe because it's all bullshit. And well, it's embellishing the truth an awful lot. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it sort of surface level or one note, isn't it? It means there's not really any depth to it.
Like, yeah, because... Even like, Benny Russo's character, there's a bit that you do feel for, but at the same point, the on-screen chemistry between them is decent, but at the same point, that part when they stood outside and they kind of is on about his life, and he says, yeah, well, my life for this, that, and other, my dad had like 5-foot arms, and they used to batter me and beat me up, and then they kind of go into a bit of trigger warning into Benny Russo's character.
Yeah.
And it felt like I've thrown this in there so that you really feel for these two characters. Because there were part of me thinking, are these two just con artists as well? And that, because that were part of the, I thought the movie maybe would be going that way. Are these, these, Al Pacino and Veneruso's character, are they just bullshitters? Are they con artists just trying to, going to screw them over? Which, in a way, that a little bit that does happen. But again, there's another plot line there that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's another plot that kind of goes somewhere but doesn't, and like their relationship kind of goes somewhere and doesn't, and his addiction goes somewhere and doesn't, and then we introduce this potential love triangle that kind of goes somewhere, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And yeah, it's all just it's too much but not enough at the same time. Too many ideas, but none of them are fulfilled enough.
Yeah, I mean the kind of the love triangle. I did like the fact that. Matthew McConaughey's character kind of read that and kind of how he dealt with it. I enjoyed that. I thought that were fine. But then,
so like the kind of little twist you get towards the end, you mean?
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah. But then that bit were fine. But then when they kind of had their kind of, Al Pacino and Veneruso was kind of talking about it, and she's like, you didn't even react the day after, so I thought nothing's happened, but you've just set me up. And again, I felt there should have been a bit more from that.
Well, I don't know what we as viewers are supposed to get from that, because I don't think I want him to be redeemed by this point. I think he's mistreated his staff. He's mistreated Brandon, like in terms of when he makes the big money, he then like keeps it all for himself and won't evenly share it out. He's mistreating his wife. He's trying to trick them into an affair that, and as you said, they see it coming and kind of trick him. They turn the trick back on him, don't they? And then she just sort of goes, "I forgive you, and I don't want you to be alone." And I'm not sure, like, am I supposed to be on his side? Do I want this to happen? Or I think I'm saying to Tony, sling your hook, mate. Like, I'm going to go and find somebody that I deserve and is going to treat me better.
Which, I mean, I think that would have been the better outcome. I think that I don't think we should care for Walter at the end of this.
It's an odd one, isn't it?
I think, again, that's a problem, because it kind of goes so far, and then it's like, we'll make him redeemable. But
but he doesn't do anything to get redeemed, though, does he? He just gets forgiven. I don't know. That's a power in itself, is to forgive.
Gets found out, and then it's like, but even that, he doesn't really kind of show remorse for it.
No,
and I think that in itself is a problem. I think you see even the end bit as well, when there's that big kind of, it comes down to the final game. I thought, is he going to completely shaft them all over? Are they going to go down this route, and he's going to walk away and think, yeah, two fingers up to you guys? Or is he thinking, I can't do that because everybody else who kind of is relying on the jobs and that. So again, I was conflicted how that was going to go, because I didn't know whether I wanted him to kind of screw Walter over, or whether I wanted him to kind of, make the win so that everybody else is fine.
No, I hear you, and I think that's a problem, isn't it? That you're not sure where allegiances lie. You're not sure where you feel the ending should go. You're not sure whose side you're on. I don't know if you feel the same. I'm not really sure what the point of this movie is. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to get from it, what kind of message or meaning. And not every movie needs to have one, but this definitely feels like it wants to say something. I just don't know what it's trying to say.
Because there's parts in the film where you kind of think, oh, well, as I say, there's certain bits I did like, that bit when they just won the millions, and the kind of, he kind of says, 100 grand is nice, which, yes, 100 grand is nice, but he wants 10% because he knows what he's worth. And Al Pacino kind of pulls him in, and he kind of, that is a good bit of, screen presence there of them both. And that's a bit of option that you think, yes, that's what I know and that's what I like. But then it fizzles away, and then Matthew McConaughey just kind of walks out. And
it should be building up to a confrontation between them, or he should go off and start his own company and be a rival. Or
exactly.
I hear you.
At that point, take your 100 grand and go set your own business up and go, right, okay, Walter, I'm going to show you and I'm going to better you and I'm going to, Jeremy Piven, you come in, in your computer. And he could have twisted it and gone that way and then gone, right, okay, I'm going to build my company up and just take your company down.
Yeah.
But no, we don't. I mean, we do this quite often, don't we? We always come up with what we think is a better movie.
In this instance, we're definitely right, though. I think, and I kind of get it. I think, the movie starts with a voiceover, doesn't it, from McConaughey talking about his dad and how all he wanted to do was make him proud. And then by 10, he left. So the whole movie for McConaughey is, I suppose, a sort of coming of age story, despite the fact that he's 30 by the end of the movie. It's a coming of age in terms of like not needing to find validation from your father figure.
Yeah,
I kind of get that part. And then in some of the interview stuff I watched, like Gilroy talks about the idea that for him, his intention was this to be kind of a warning about the addictive nature of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose those two things are kind of there. I get it. Although Pacino, quote unquote, wins in the end in terms of money and still gets to keep his family. So I'm not sure that is there. But you've got to search really hard and you've got to really invest in these people for these things to really matter. And I think we've been discussing so far that if you're bored, you're not searching hard. And although we think the performances are good and the chemistry is good, we're not invested in these people. So we don't really care.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. You just don't care too much for the characters. And that. As I say, if it weren't for the project that you're doing, I would never watch this. And that. And like I said, I don't think it's not so much a bad movie. It's just it's a middling, and that it's like probably a 5 out of 10 kind of thing.
I agree. Yeah,
it's not bad. I think it's not that it's not bad. It's just disappointing that you feel that you.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing on lots of levels. It's disappointing compared to the things we've been comparing it to because it's not as good as any of them.
Which is unfair sometimes. I mean, Moneyball came years later anyway. But still.
But it's disappointing because these performances and these actors have put all this in and it's not good enough compared to them. It's disappointing because we want to watch this. You and I both want to watch this and we want to talk about this positively. We don't want to sit here and we'll find some positives in a minute to talk about. We'll try and be a bit, hopefully. But we don't, we want to. That's who you and me are. We want to celebrate this. I want to celebrate McConaughey. We have celebrated McConaughey because that's the point of this project. So we've not gone into this with our claws out, wanting to find.
No, it's just the tone of it at times. It's like the bit when they go into the AA meeting for the gambling,
the gambling anonymous meeting. It's just a lemon speech.
That's a really interesting point, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
and then again, you see the selfishness of Walter. Of by the way, because someone recognises him, and he's like, by the way, we're doing really well.
Fall off the wagon.
Handing cards out, and I just thought, did it need that? Maybe if you'd have just have got someone where they didn't notice him.
Now that's interesting because that is maybe reflective of who you are, and I think I agree with you because I think that's meant to be funny,
right? See,
but because
I don't find that funny because I think
what he's doing is cruel and vindictive and harmful. But I think because this is a machismo movie, I think they think that's going to be funny. Yeah,
but that's what I mean. Someone who I've suffered with an addiction, and I've been in them situations, and the last thing you want is someone to come in here and go, by the way, let's take a bit of piss out of you all, and in places like that, it's like we've got Andy's man groups that you can go to, guys can go talk to and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
when you go there, you normally go in there and you're opening your soul out. You're laying it all out. You don't want someone to come in there and be a dick like he was. And I just feel it had potential there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's like, good idea. Swerve to the other side. It's like, why? He just
It wants you to laugh at people, doesn't it? And that's a problem. Whereas if you're laughing at the people in the meeting, whereas if you're laughing at Pacino for his behaviour, that's okay. But that's where it crosses that line at the end and it makes that misjudgment. And I think that's coming back to your initial point where, like, tonally, it doesn't quite get it. It needed to stop 2 minutes before. The Lemon speech is a brilliant bit performance from him and is actually, in some ways, has some insight into what he's talking about.
If they'd have left it there and walked away, you'd have thought, I like that. I really like that. It's got meaning to it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, at that point, they've kind of said that he's a struggling, gambler.
Yeah. He's an addict himself. Yeah.
It shows that, which I find it weird, the fact, well, why would you, if you're a struggling gambler addict, why would you be in this kind of industry? It doesn't make sense. It's like, I used to be an alcoholic, but I work in a bar. Oh,
yeah.
He's just surrounded by temptation. It doesn't make sense. But the thing is, I think the way he's probably been able to deal with things is be in this industry. Mm-hmm. And that's so it gets his high a different way. Yeah. But the problem is it's never enough. And again, tonally, it was wrong. And I feel that I think when I saw that part of the film, I was like, I think you've kind of lost me now. And that if you're willing to take a kind of a swing at people who are struggling and are trying to make better of themselves, and like you said, maybe it was more the case of you meant to laugh at Al Pacino, but I just didn't find the situation, and I think it was wrong.
No, I think a better filmmaker would have made that the point, but I don't think here that is what's happening. I think, unfortunately, you're meant to laugh at what he's doing rather than laughing at him as somebody who is misconstrued and unfortunately. And I think that's me agreeing with you about the tonal stuff. I think, again, DJ Caruso, the director, he went on to do some decent stuff after this, but I think perhaps he's not quite the filmmaker yet that he needed to be. This is a mature subject. This is in some ways ahead of its time, I suppose, in terms of what it's talking about. Like, sports betting has only become a bigger and bigger and bigger industry. So perhaps it's quite insightful in that way, but perhaps this story wasn't quite ready. Perhaps these filmmakers weren't quite mature enough to give us what is a story, the proper story set in this world.
How old is Dan Gilroy?
Great question. I've got no idea. Sorry, if you can find it quick.
1959, so it's 46. So it's 60. So they'd have been in his 40s, wouldn't they? No. Yeah, it'd have been 40. So it'd be my age, actually. Mm-hmm.
But I say not in the same maturity in terms of the time on the planet, but in terms of being of understanding, this creative aspect. This is early on in his writing career. I think he's only got one or two things before this, and I think perhaps how he shapes the story and how he shapes character and how DJ Caruso kind of pitches a scene and what he asks his actors to do. I think perhaps they weren't quite ready for telling a more mature story.
Yeah. I didn't actually realise as well, Renee Russo's his wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I did actually read some trivia that she is, the name of her attorney is Renee Russo's sister. But I just feel that I'm a broken record here, but it's just missed something out here, and that and it could be like you've said, that it's a bit of an immaturity in his filmmaking at the time, whereas maybe if he was to go back and do it again now, it'd be like, well, that won't work, so we need to kind of change this and other. And I suppose as well, internet's kind of starting to build up at this point, in 2000s. But so it's not where we are now. There's been different leaps and that. So because it's like, it was relying on people ringing up. You know, that phone number that he had, that 0800 bet, what was it? 0800 bet it all was an actual phone number at the time. So that was where we was then, whereas it's completely different now. But it just, yeah, I just feel disappointed watching it, and that because it again, unfortunately, you know, putting it against these other films, and that you know what could be, and we just don't get that. I'd love to come on in and go, this is an amazing film. I love this. I love what they did in it. But I just feel that the performances are there. It's just the storyline isn't.
No, I completely agree. So let's talk about some. I know we've done it a little bit, but let's talk about maybe particularly McConaughey's Brandon and Pacino as Walter. What do you think of their like dynamic of that kind of, and it is tropey, but that kind of like surrogate father son, like kind of mentor protege. What did you think was going on there? Did you?
Al Pacino's Walter, he really does play on that. He plays on the fact that the absent father, to the point when he's blocking Matthew McConaughey's Brandon's dad to getting in touch. And he's like,
that's where we get that other scene, isn't it? When he starts talking about like history and yeah.
But it shows that Walter's done his research on this guy, so he knows about him. So I think he has kind of looked at him and thought, he's very good. How can I pick the meat off his bones, kind of thing? How can I use him to kind of make me a shitload of money, basically? And that, so the dynamic between them I do like, and I do like the fact that when he kind of comes in and he's like, he says, you know, you've got to change your image. You know, you can't be Brandon. You're now Jonathan.
It's John. I can't remember. I think we call it. For some reason, I'm thinking like John Anderson, but now it's Nia. You know, now it's Nia that's in my head.
Oh, John Anthony.
John Anthony. Thank you. Yeah,
close to Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
But which I get that, because to be fair, he's going to go on TV. He needs a TV persona. He needs to be larger than life. He needs to be, you know, like you said, this $1 million man. And I like that they kind of did that and they sold it to him. And he's like, you know, if you want to do this, you have to basically leave Brandon aside and you become John. And he's like, yep, that's fine, I'm in for it. And then we get on the TV thing, and there's this whole script written out for him. And I like the fact that he goes completely off script and that. But the problem there again is he's kind of built into this, I'm going to be John Anthony, and then he goes off script, and then you can kind of feel that heart of what Brandon is, you know, because he speaks to people how people want to be spoken to, not, you know, spoken down to. So again, it fluctuates between, you know, you're meant to be this persona of this John Anthony, but then also we still keep getting Brandon there. And it's like,
well, it's only when he becomes full John Anthony that things start going wrong, isn't it? I think it's when he identifies this himself, doesn't he? He talks about the idea that I've lost touch with who I am, and now I can't do my job properly anymore. Because
that's the bit where he makes the $1 million when they go speak to the guy who's got millions of pounds, and to the $1 million.
Yeah, the Amanda Sante character. Yeah,
and he says to one of the guys in the office, he's like, "Oh, just pick this," and, you know, and he gets just this random kind of male. Is it like a mailman or something?
Like an intern or like a trainee, isn't he? Yeah,
and it's like, you know, whatever you pick will be it, and that, and they go for 12 for 12. And at that point, then he kind of comes into the office. He's like, "No, I'm going to go play golf." And it's like, "No, I need you here. You need to get ready and study and do your picks. You need to watch these games." And it's like, "No, I'm off to play golf." Oh, just give him it. And he just scribbles a few picks down. But he's got so much up for his own arse there, and becomes so much to be John Anthony that he's lost who he is. So he kind of, he's his own kryptonite.
Yeah.
Superman coming out. He then loses who he is to be able to make them picks to actually, because before we see the fact that he's ringing around different coaches and training staff and things like that to kind of work out what's going to, what the teams are going to be. Is someone having a bad day and things like that, and being able to, and this is why I can do these super picks. But because he's now got so cocksure of himself, he's not doing the work. He's just living the fancy life, which is, to be fair, what Walter wanted him to do. And that, but then he's just turned into so much of an arsehole. And
yeah, he's going full Walter, really, isn't he? Unfortunately,
yeah, he's basically turning into Walter to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And I think then Walter kind of sees that as a bit of this could really challenge me. But then also, this is where the issue is. He starts to lose him so much money, and that. And like we get Jeremy Piven's character coming in, it's like, look, I did really well. I've been doing well these last few. And it's like, nah, I don't want to use you. You and your little computer. I don't care. Well, why is he so hell bent on sticking with?
I didn't understand that either. Like, why he had such blind faith in him and what he thought. Maybe he knows you have dips and you come back. I know I didn't get that either. Like this sense of like,
does that tie into the the very Russo part of where he's trying to set them two up to see whether she's going to cheat on him?
Yeah, I wish I could answer that for you, but I completely agree. I don't understand that section of the movie at all. Really, I don't understand that sense of yeah. I could just say the same phrase, like blind faith. I can't think of any other way to put it. Like why he thinks this guy is the be all and end all. He keeps saying, doesn't he? Like, I'm building my whole network around you, building my whole like structure of my business around you, and I just couldn't work out what he offered him to do that.
For a guy who's, like you say, who's just been recording phone messages and probably has probably had a bit of a lucky streak, but still to say, okay, I've got this team of guys here who've been obviously making him a lot of money.
Yeah. He's loyal, doing it for years.
He's got a TV channel that he does, to obviously go, I'm going to bring this nobody in, give him a big office and spend all this money, and it doesn't make sense.
Well, this is where I think that relationship is quite interesting. Like, is it mentor protege? Is it like father son? Is it sees himself in him? He often comments on how handsome he is, or he calls him a serious side of beef. Is it that he thinks Tony wants to sleep with Brandon, or is it that Walter wants to sleep with Brandon? Well, I don't know. Like, there's this really, I think, and again, there's an opportunity for lots to be played with here, and the film doesn't do enough with it. But I think there was enough between the actors, and there was enough between the characters to do some quite playful, interesting stuff.
It's just like as if they've left some of it on the film floor.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or
they weren't brave enough to make certain decisions, or
maybe.
It's another subplot which went by the by. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem, because I feel like there's a few different subplots going along, and none of them really kind of go anywhere, and it comes down to the kind of you risk it all, and that, but. It's just there's just something missing, something else, just to kind of keep my attention there.
Yeah, well, they just keep leaning back on cliche and tropes, unfortunately, don't they? So like you said, the last big game and the last big hope, and it's all those kind of things which you get in sports movies. But even if you know it's coming, there's ways to do it well. When you know what's going to happen in every Rocky movie, but you still invest and you still care, and this is essentially that same arc, right? It's exactly the same. So there's ways to do it, and this just keeps missing the mark, unfortunately, despite the fact that we keep coming back to these guys got chemistry. McConaughey's really strong in it. I think we get some nice moments with him. I think when he's on screen by himself, I think you said this as well, when he's against people you look to him, but when he's by himself, he's in these like training montage kind of sequences, either like trying to find the John Anthony character or quite literally working out and stuff like that. He's such a charismatic kind of presence on screen. You are drawn to him. So it does do things right. There is good things to say, but it's mostly around, I think, the people on the screen and what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like it tries to mirror another film we're going to throw in there as well, American Psycho. You know, when we see kind of he's kind of finding himself at times. You know, you kind of feel that with this character here, but again, it's as if maybe he's had like a wall chart, and it's like, right, I like this film. I'm going to try to take sections from here.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is when you mash it all together, it doesn't always work. And it doesn't keep you. You know, I was watching and I wasn't picking my phone up. I wasn't like messing around and checking anything like that. You know, I had my little notebook as I always do. But the one thing I do notice quite often when I'm writing stuff down, I'll normally pause it, write it down, and carry it on. And I found that I did that near the start, but as we went along, I was just writing stuff and not so much missing out, but I thought nothing's really happening.
Right, yeah.
So I don't feel I'm going to miss any important dialogue. Like, you know, all of a sudden I've missed a sentence out and that's completely missed the film. And that it meanders along. And it gets to the end and you kind of think, well, that's finished.
Yeah, because it's not a particularly short movie, is it? I mean, what? It's an hour and
2 hours.
Yeah, an hour 50, 2 hours. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so it's just about 2 hours. So, yeah, you could probably shave a good 20 minutes off that, I would have thought, and it would have been a bit more of a comfortable watch. But in that strange way, in that also you don't feel like you quite get enough. This almost might be better suited to like a miniseries, but just a miniseries where they, delve into things in a bit more depth. And I think I still think we could probably discuss this for another 2 hours, and I still don't think I really understand not just what the movie is trying to say, but also what is happening in the movie. And I think I'm a fairly intelligent guy, but I don't think they do enough for me as a viewer to help me understand this role and what they do. And again, think of something like this is no way the same movie, but think of like The Beekeeper, right? The Jason Statham movie. You have those, right. You have those scammers though, right? On the phone who are scamming people out of money. I think these people, in my opinion, for what I get from this movie, are essentially scamming people out of their money. That feels to me like that was another way this film could have gone, in that they're preying upon people's addiction. That is not a good thing to do.
That could have been a better way of doing this, of if they were actually scamming people out. The thing is with this, they have to.
I feel like they kind of are.
Well, no, because you've got to win for them to get any money out of you.
I know, but they're calling people up that don't have really enough money to place these bets in the first place, kind of badgering them and belittling them, and
they're getting people
gaslighting them into making these bets. And if it comes off great, they get a percentage. If it doesn't, they've ruined this person's life and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, because we see that later on with is it Aman? When you see his growth of ended up with like a big Ferrari.
He runs like a dry cleaners or something, doesn't he? And then he's 1 million.
And then he's got next to nothing. I kind of think.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows the gambling side of the addiction there. If you can afford a Ferrari, surely you could be sensible enough to keep some of that money aside. But
then he's been in his ear again, hasn't he? Like saying, "Come on." So I don't know. I think it kind of glamorizes these people, and they're not good people.
No. Well, no, but they are taking advantage 100%. But at the same point, the way for them to make money, they want you to do well so that you will keep betting. But there's no thought of what happens if he does make this massive bet and it all goes tits up for him.
Yeah, and it's kind of why Brandon leaves in the end, isn't it? Because he can't kind of cope with the sense of what is happening to other people.
He says that he's, a religious and, kind of. I mean, there's a point where his mum rings up and he's talking to her, and then he kind of cuts her off. Oh no, he doesn't. He puts her on hold, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he goes back to talk to her, and she hangs up, and he's like, "Mum," and she's like, but even then, he was sending money home, and she's like, "It's too much. We don't need this." So there's a family value there of, look, we only need what we need. We don't need this extra money. They touched on this at the start, the fact that his mum's working 2 jobs, his brother's going to college, and his other brother would be working on a car, but I think there was something else as well. So they needed money. So kind of felt, right, okay, so that's the reason he's going off to go.
His like motivation,
to make all this money. But then again, nothing. You see that one section where he talks to his mum and she's saying, "Yeah, I got your money, but who's this person? Who's this Jonathan who the check's from?" Now, apparently, obviously, you can just change your name and just get a new bank account quite easily to be able to do this. But again, expand on that. Kind of show the fact that, you know, his mum don't have to do that working, but actually, no, she still wants to work because she's very much family values. But yeah, you can put your brother through college and things like that. Build on that, but again, he's not touched on and that. You know, you do actually kind of care for Brandon in this and that, and you know, when he kind of does go back to the bit at the end where you kind of think, okay, he's seen the faults that he's been making, and he tries to rectify it. He tries to kind of say, look, to Tony, look, I'm going to lean in to kiss you, and that. But then obviously he tells her he's setting us up because he's watching us somewhere.
Yeah.
So there is the good still in there, and I think he's like that curve. He kind of rises, he becomes a complete and utter arsehole, realises, and then kind of tries to back out of that and come back to who he was.
Yeah, after Amanda Sante's pissed on him. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was a kind of.
I do like that scene with his mum. It's the only time you get a bit of the kind of McConaughey coming through, and I think that sounds critical, and it doesn't. I don't mean it that way, because actually we've said he's really good in this. He really does show that kind of greed is good, kind of methodology and mantra and way of thinking at certain points as the character. But I like it when he's talking to his mum, because there's a couple of moments where it felt like, there's the guy, there's the kind of classic delivery from him. Just the way he says a couple of those lines. He says something like, "Those checks you've been cashing," and there's just something in the way that he says certain words, which is like, that's so McConaughey. Yeah. So I quite like that, and perhaps that's right. Like, that's very deliberate from him there in that scene, from what you're saying, because he's reconnecting with that person and who he is.
Yeah, and maybe that's the point. Because
it's a deliberate actor's choice, I think, perhaps.
Yeah, and that, as I say, that they do a good performance. There's just something just not quite right there.
Yeah, I mean, you get him with his top off. He'll do that for you, everybody. Don't worry. You know, if you're playing McConaughey bingo, I clocked it. 7 minutes in is the first top off. 9 minutes in is the first. All right. So, you know, your bingo card's going to get filled up. Probably watching this, but
you can't watch this with very young children around, though, because we do have a bit of a Rudy scene.
That's true. Yeah.
Which is,
they will definitely be bored as well.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something. I mean, I don't think he really does many sex scenes, does he? You see him with his top off a lot, but
yeah, not like
what we kind of. I mean, it's not so much graphical, but
no.
I mean, again, I think you could have had that scene, but done it probably a bit more tasteful.
Probably. I mean, I think. Again, that's just one of those things. I think we're supposed to understand later on when she's back in the movie that she was a prostitute, right? That Walter hired for him. I don't know. I couldn't quite work that later scene out, what was going on there. Because she's out with 2 guys, isn't she? And Walter goes up to them and they're like, "Oh, these fat guys that you're with," and da-da-da-da. And then Tony says, "Pay for the meal." And then that whole bet is like, "Can you go home with her?" And then he does. And when he goes to see her later at her apartment, there's a whole like, "Don't come here. This is where I live, not like where I work." And she says something about being paid for the night. Is what I thought she said.
Right, because I know there's that scene where Tony comes home and she sees Walter and he's paying this girl off.
Yeah, he's definitely been.
But then Walter turns around and says, "Yeah, but Brandon didn't want her." He said that, you know, he wasn't interested in that. So
I think that was just him bullshit, wasn't it? He'd just been.
I don't know. Maybe. I think he probably had been, you know, playing a bit of hide the sausage. But
yeah.
see, again, that could tie into the reason why he's so, distrusting of Tony and saying that, oh, she's going to cheat on me with these other people. Because he even says to her at the start of the film, it's like, oh, I bet you're thinking of him without his top on.
Yeah.
And it's like, so maybe Walter is cheating, but because he's doing that, he thinks everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But again, there's nothing, more explored in that. That would make more sense if you could show that his gambling addiction is also falling into these other addictions here. And that you could maybe get to a point where you do feel sorry for Walter. You think, all right, okay, because of all these addictions that he's got, this is why he's so screwed up. All right, I can kind of not so much give him an easy pass, but understand where he's coming from. But again, they don't build on that.
No, they don't. I agree. It's interesting because I don't think McConaughey looks, he doesn't really passing mention of green lights. There's no detail to it. On the DVD extras, he says a little bit about I really enjoyed the one-to-one interactions. There's lots of dialogue. I enjoyed filming 3 to 4 pages a day. It was kind of about the process. I'm not sure, how heavily this features in his own kind of filmography and how he feels about it, because it's not one that he seems to feel like has made any great, strides for him, I think, in his career, really.
It is very, like you said, it's very wordy. It's no Rain of Fire. It's not. It comes off that it has to rely on that script. But the problem is, although the lines have been delivered fairly well, they just feel like empty words, and that. So I can understand why he probably looked at it and thought, I get tested out opposite Al Pacino, and I can really I can test my mettle here. I can really see what I can actually do and deliver.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't do a bad job as such. It's just, I just don't
actually, I'd argue he does a good job, to be fair. It's just, he's good in a very average product.
Yeah, I mean, Al Pacino is fine. I think he's good in certain scenes. As I say, the scene when they've just won the money, and he's like, he leans into it and says, "If you want this, you're gonna have to claw it out of my hands," kind of thing. That's a really good scene, but it's few and far between. And you expect probably a bit more from Pacino, and that. So yeah, it's just there was potential, but they just don't deliver.
No, it's true. So we've mentioned lots of different kind of comparison points, and I was thinking of very similar ones to you, which I think says a lot that we were thinking about the same comparison points. But it made me think about the character Brandon and who plays him, right? McConaughey feels like a good fit for this era. I think we can agree on that, right? So 2003 is it? I think 2005. 2005. So he's a good fit at this kind of point as an actor. I think perhaps if this was made in the 80s, this would be a Tom Cruise vehicle. Do you agree? That kind of like the Fermi
cocktail kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. 90s. I was thinking maybe Will Smith might have been a good fit for this. He was at his peak then at that point.
Possibly, or trying to think who else will be. Not Arnie, no, maybe not Arnie. It'd been an interesting film with Arnie doing this. I don't know. I think
the question I was going to ask you anyway was if you're going to, I love how much thought processes.
Yeah,
I love that you're going deep then, but I want you to go deep on the next part. Like if we were making this now, who's the right person now? Do you think?
It'd
be a very different movie now, wouldn't it? Of course, because as you said, internet's changed this whole world. But who's got that kind of charisma? Who could pull off this kind of role now? Do you think?
I'm trying to think who. Because I was thinking like Henry Cavill, but I don't mind him, but I don't know whether he's got that charisma there.
He's a bit aged out, and I don't think he does I don't think he's good at that kind of stuff. Personally, I think he's a bit wooden.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac is probably too old to do it as well. Oh.
You sort of need that person who's like big, but on the cusp of becoming like a megastar. Like Cruise in the 80s was already big, don't get me wrong, but like he was still rising. Yeah, Will Smith in the 90s, I think that he was still rising. McConaughey is rising at this point. So it matches the trajectory of kind of the character. So they need to have that charisma and they need to have that presence, but they are still on the up.
What about his name is Star of Sinners.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
I think he would be. He would probably do a good job because he's got that charisma.
Definitely. Yeah.
Presence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think.
And he's a serious side of beef.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely big enough to do something like that.
Yeah.
You need. The thing is, you need someone who's got a decent body on them to kind of come from doing the American, football kind of side.
Yeah.
So, and he's obviously kept himself, because that's the thing through the film, he's trying to go back to being able to play, and that realistically that's never going to happen. But they've got to have that charisma. Because it's like, I mean, you could have Chris Hemsworth, but I don't. Chris Pratt could probably do it.
Maybe, but as the MCU has likes to poke fun at him, he's not kept himself in NFL shape, has he?
No.
He's happily gone back to the Parks and Rec, Andy Dwyer days.
Be a dad bod.
Yeah, good for him. No, I like Michael B. Jordan's a great shout, actually.
Yeah, I think
he definitely has the charisma. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those where even if his films are, I mean, Sinners is amazing, but even some of the films that he has done are not brilliant. His performances are always really good. I mean, we're going to get Fantastic Four, or we will have had Fantastic Four by this point. You look back at Fantastic, not a good film, but
no.
Michael B. Jordan's good in it, and that he brings something to him, but because he's got that screen presence, he's very good. He's likable and watchable. So yeah, I think if you were to remake it now, someone like that would be ideal.
Yeah, no, great shout.
I'm still trying to think of someone else from Will Smith's time, because I don't know. Because you're looking like late 90s kind of point, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
What do we have found about that time?
Obviously, Enemy of the State is the one I was thinking of with Will Smith, where he's playing like the lawyer and he's on the run. That's what gave me the.
Josh Hartnett.
Oof.
No.
Talking of wooden.
Not a fan, man. Well, I mean, if you want someone wooden, and that Keanu.
Hey, listen.
But we have that in Devil's Advocate, don't we? And
exactly. Yeah.
He's really good in Devil's Advocate.
He is, yeah. I love
He's
Keanu.
a wooden actor. That's the problem.
Well, he's an actor that is good at playing somebody
don't give him too many lines.
Exactly, yeah. And this is a movie full of lines, so yeah, I'm not sure.
What about? No, it may have been too old. Who's in Top Gun and Willow?
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, but probably too old for that point as well. No.
I'll leave you ruminating on it.
Yeah. I mean, because he starred Al Pacino in Heat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it could have done, but I don't know. Yeah. Alternate universe.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you want to say, or shall I dive into some Letterboxd?
Get some because you said there's nothing in green lights from it.
Nothing, unfortunately, no. Yeah. Just a very passing mention. Around this time, I was in and Two for the Money is one of those films. So, sadly, yeah, nothing really to draw upon here.
what about in the 2000s, Ewan McGregor?
Yeah.
No, you're not really talking about. No, yeah. I think it's a struggle for that time. I mean, if you were to kind of take McConaughey out, kind of this time, you would have probably had someone like Bale doing this.
Yeah,
Christian
for
Bale
sure.
would have fit into this role at this time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that.
It's probably a bit
So-
too close to Bateman, as you
Yeah.
made reference to before. Yeah.
Right, go on, letterbox.
All right. So McBridges says, a great time if you want to see Al Pacino desperately making every acting choice he can because he clearly got no direction, has no arc, and has no idea what's going on. A bizarre rise and fall narrative that's so half-baked it's almost admirable, where Pacino is simultaneously McConaughey's mentor, father figure, devil on his shoulder, sexual competition, and mirrored cautionary tale. Pacino makes roughly 50 separate, very specific comments about how hot McConaughey is, so maybe he's also in love with him too. It's not clear. Which, we've touched upon and is definitely true.
Yeah. I do kind of agree. I mean, it's kind of we find this, don't we, when you read the letterbox out. Well, we've spent an hour kind of talking about someone hits in like a couple of sentences.
For sure, yeah. You've got to be pithy on Letterboxd, really, haven't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, I do write a fair amount, and people don't want to read big essays to a certain degree, so you've got to kind of get that in between.
As you said, that Reddit thread I sent you last night, you start reading it and you kind of go, nah, I'm done.
Yeah, I would say, looking at it, I thought, oh, that goes on and on. And, yeah, I don't think I can read this.
No, fair. All right, Michael James says, Al Pacino and Matthew McConaughey are indeed at the top of their performance game, but the dull, aimless plot and clumsy narrative make this a tiring watch.
Could have said that in the first 5 minutes, would have been fine.
Yeah. And then I had enough because I'd had enough of thinking about this movie, and that was all I did. So, I mean, it's not, it's not rated massively high. McConaughey himself clearly feels it's pretty forgettable. 2.9 on Letterboxd. Like most reviews are kind of 2 stars. It lost money. Yeah,
because it cost 35 million and it made 30.
Yeah,
and it's like it was just a swing and a miss, and that or a fumble.
A fumble. There you go. I like it. Very nice. Yeah. So I'm guessing, your final score is not going to be a classic, but do you think it is still worth catching in terms of what's on the McConaughey list, or do you really believe it's all the way down the bottom at completeness only?
I think it's probably a worth catching, but for the performances at times, it's worth. As I say, I didn't finish this and think, oh, Jack, you owe me 2 hours.
Yeah,
and that I didn't have to kind of like in 13 when I thought, right, okay, not a good film, but where can I kind of pull something from this? This was like, it was a film. So it's worth catching because there are some good moments in there, but it's probably, if you're doing something in the house and you're tidying up and you want to put a film on in the background, it's probably one of them where you can look up and kind of catch certain scenes and go, yeah, okay, that's decent, but you're not going to miss anything if you happen to kind of have to go in and wash up for 5 minutes or something like that. So, yes, it's worth catching for McConaughey's performance especially.
Yeah, all right, that's interesting. So, obviously, Angels in the Outfield was your first this season, and you considered that a completist only. So we have stepped in the right direction. We're worth catching. So hopefully next time I speak to you, which looking at my list is not going to be for quite a while, so we might try and sneak one in before that. Well, your next one is the Gentleman, I think, which you've got down on my list. So.
Yeah, I mean that could be a completist only. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. I snatched that as soon as I saw that. So
yeah, maybe a little clue for where you might land on that one for sure. Lovely, mate. All right, so this is going to come out at the beginning of August. So I know that's nearly a month away compared to when we're recording. But what lovely Star Wars content have you got for us in that time? What have you guys been working on?
if you're following the podcast of Star Wars Chit Chat, we're on. I think Mike's been doing it nearly every week or something now. But we haven't actually recorded something for a while, so I'm not. Oh, we're doing Tales of the Jedi. I think is what we're recording next. But when this comes out, we're probably still finishing off Clone Wars, the end of the season, and that. So I've been on 20th Century Geek. We talked about Super Slash Man, the Christopher Reeves documentary, which a really good chat with Scott and Mike. I don't know if you listened to that.
I did. Yeah, it was a bit
emotional, and that. But that is definitely worth listening to and definitely worth watching. I also did All Star Superman. Yeah. Interesting conversation, I'll say that.
Fair enough.
So, but there'll be plenty on the Star Wars Chit Chat, and that. So you could probably check us out there. And Letterboxd, I also do my Letterboxd reviews, and that I'm going near when anything new's coming out. I try kind of go along and write something down, and hopefully some people might enjoy what I write. I don't do little songs like some people do, and that. But I'm Maff 78 on there. So if you want to have a look and see what my ramblings are, then I'm there.
I don't know. I can't decide if we went in a little too hard there on the movie genre discussion, because it honestly is fine. But it's also undeniably a missed opportunity. This could have been so money, and it didn't even know it. Thanks again to Maff, who not only watched and researched the film, but also prepared his very own impression. Now that's dedication. But of course, my thanks to you two listeners for continuing to engage and partake in this journey with me through the reconnaissance. That was 2 for the money. Next up in a fortnight, I'm going to be rejoined by Rhea for her second rom-comming to discuss Eminem's performance as Trip in Tom Day's ominously titled Failure to Launch, for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I'm Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Cut.
Baby, you are so money and you don't even know it.